Good evening, folks, and a very warm welcome. It's a warm welcome indeed. Warm welcome back to DinamoTV after last week's short break. I'm back from a short family holiday, and let me tell you, it was a fantastic holiday, and I'm ready to get back into what is going to be a very, very hectic 2025. My name is Taunchi Prulsats, and I'm your host for tonight's episode of DinamoTV. It's episode 9 for season 2 and 47 episodes in total. Yep, 3 episodes to go, and we're going to hit the big 5-0. Speaking of hitting the big 5-0, yes, if you haven't already known, this year St Albans Dinamo is celebrating its 50th anniversary, and there's going to be some massive activities, festivities planned as part of that. And on tonight's show, we're going to give you an update with regards to one of those, and that is the Dinamo Zagreb Junior Camp that's going to be happening in the July school holidays. Some big news coming out of that. We'll be joined by committee member STJEPAN GAL a bit later on in the show with regards to that. Also happening behind the scenes, there's a lot of work. Well, it's an election year, a federal election year, and with that usually means that politicians are ready to loosen the purse strings. And certainly we've had one of our members of the committee working very hard, liaising with various government levels and government departments and officials. And we'll be hearing from ANTE ROZANIC a little bit later on in the show. He and Vice President John Bilosh attended a recent meeting during the week with the 3 tiers of government here in Breambank, and he'll tell us a bit about that, what happened later on. But the big news, of course, last week was the big win over Oakleigh Cannons. In something like 1,300 days since we last defeated the Cannons. And the scorer of the first goal, EMMANUEL Peters, Manny as he's affectionately known in the Churchill Reserve change rooms. He'll be also joining us a bit later on to talk about that goal and also the current mood in the Dinamo change rooms. So there's a lot going on, folks, a lot happening. Stay tuned for the news desk straight after this short commercial break from our major sponsor, the IND Group.
The IND Group is regarded as one of the largest deliverers of concrete structure solutions in Victoria. Formed in 1994 by Ivan and Kathy Filipovic, their passion and commitment to getting the job done safely and economically has underpinned their success in the industry. IND partners with large-scale building and construction companies in both the private and public sectors on projects large and small. With our corporate headquarters based in South Melbourne and storage yard based in the southeast suburbs, we have at our disposal thousands of square metres of quality materials, along with state-of-the-art lifting and crane equipment, enabling us to deliver the largest projects. We are committed to delivering high-quality projects by partnering with our clients and collaborating with project suppliers to ensure each job is delivered to exceed expectations. From humble beginnings, IND now employs more than 1,200 dedicated professional and support staff, involved in a number of landmark projects right across Victoria. The IND Group is a massive supporter of the Croatian community, backed soccer clubs in Victoria, and is proud to be the major sponsor of the St Albans Dinamo Football Club in 2024.
Welcome back to DinamoTV, and it is indeed time for the news desk. Let's start with the highlights from last Friday's game at Jack Edwards Reserve. Dinamo, of course, are in their away strip.
Jordan Hall, Alex Salmon, Joe Guest, Harry Arneson and Joe Knowles. St Albans have named a settled 11. Jackson Riley in goals, along with Gideon Arrock, Alec Mills, Jerome Sharan, Brian Summerskill, Joey Monek, Joseph Cholina, Michael Gergich, the birthday boy today, of course the captain of St Albans, Josh Golevsky, Emmanuel Peters and Josh Diven. As we get things underway here at Jack Edwards Reserve, it is Oakleigh kicking us off in their traditional navy blue strips, going from right to left at St Albans. 133 days since their last win at Oakleigh. back in 1992, July 12. A 2-0 win. Richard Milanovic and Mark Silic scored that day in a 2-0 win. Big thanks to Tony Pasolia, who has all the stats available for us commentators in the season guide. But that's what they're up against there, looking to end what is a almost 33-year-long drought. As EMMANUEL Peters gets in behind, an early chance here for Dinamo. Peters cuts on his left, deflected, and it's in! And St Albans are in front! Just as we were talking about a drought-breaking opportunity for the visitors, they strike first here.
Well, Manny Peters persisted with the ball on that right-hand side, and he's been dangerous.
And Mills shows some skill getting across to put it behind for a corner.
I think if you were CT, Nick Man, you would still be happy with the first half.
Absolutely.
To be honest. I think it's been a little scrappy, it's been a little sloppy, but I think St Albans have had a lot more opportunities than they probably would have banked on, considering that when they bring the ball forward, they just can't quite find that edge. They have to play it back a lot of the time.
Ball whipped into the near post. Dayu got a head to it, and it's helped in over the line. Was it Dayu who got the final touch, or was it Hall? It doesn't matter. Oakleigh are level. They're going over to Ajak Dayu and celebrating. And a first Oakleigh goal for the former Western United defender. Heading into the second half, but there's still time in this one for perhaps a couple more chances for either side. Well, one there by Monek, and he really had to win that one because the Cannons were away on the 2-on-1 there. Here's Galevsky. He fires! Oh, Josh Galevsky! That is unbelievable! Out of nowhere, St Albans have retaken the lead on the stroke of half-time with an absolute peach.
We were calling for it, Nick Man. We were calling for something from that 25 to 20-yard range. And he's just wellied that. Nick Feely doing well.
St Albans are seconds away from a drought-breaking win. Ball whipped into the area. Huge fist there from Riley. Arneson back into the area. Mills wins a header. It's cleared away by Sharan. Drogicevic trying to chase it down. Feely sends it long. It's out for a goal kick, and St Albans have done it! After 11,933 days, St Albans have beaten Oakleigh.
1,533 days, is that right? Jeez, that is an incredibly long time. But well done to Cameron Watson's men, the Dinamo, getting through. That sees us after round 6 in quite an admirable position compared to this time last year, in 8th position in mid-table. And there are the results from the other games. Now, looking ahead to the fixtures, the round 7 fixtures coming up this weekend. We've got a home game at Churchill Reserve this Sunday at 4 p.m, taking on Port Melbourne. Port Melbourne Sharks at the moment at the foot of the competition standings, and on paper you'd think it's an easy game, but there is no easy game, that's for sure, in the NPL Victoria competition. Before we move on to next week, let's look at the team of the week for last week, and two of our players, Captain Michael Gurgic and Jackson Riley, our goalkeeper. For the second time on both occasions, or for both players, they've been nominated in the Football Victoria Team of the Week. Well done, lads. We've got the results wrap up from the seniors all the way down to our under-14 juniors. So if we start at the seniors, obviously a 2-1 win over the Oakleigh Cannons. The 23s secured a great 3-0 win over Oakleigh, and our 19s made it a trifecta at senior level with a 2-1 win over the Oakleigh Cannons under 19s. In the junior boys NPL qualifying round 7, unfortunately, we didn't enjoy the same success as their senior counterparts. All 4 teams, the under-14s, the under-15s, 16s, and the 17s, all going down to our near neighbours and rivals, Green Gully. Now, speaking of the under-23s, during the week, Vice President John Bilosh came down to the club and handed the captain's armband direct from Dinamo Zagreb, from the Croatian capital, to the under-23s. And you can see there the captain of the under-23s, Marko Juric, proudly posing with the captain's armband surrounded by his teammates. Speaking of Churchill Reserve, yes, the turf has gone in, and does it not look amazing, including the fencing. And now all we need is for the turf to settle, which will take a few more weeks before it is ready for the first games to be played on that on the pitch. But it is looking incredibly amazing, that's for sure. We'll be speaking to Ante Rozanic a little bit later on in the show, and he'll go a bit more detail about the improvements, the infrastructure improvements at Churchill Reserve. Okay, this Sunday, Memorabilia Appeal Day. We've talked about this in a past episode of DinamoTV, and we even had club legend Miki Cholina come on the show to talk about the club's memorabilia appeal. It's happening this Sunday from 1 p.m. So Dinamo has planned a call to arms action day for past and present members to bring in photos, jerseys, or nostalgic items that can be borrowed or scanned for a very special project, the upcoming Dinamo's 50th anniversary book. We hopefully will have someone on next week's show to talk about all that. But in the meantime, the club is certainly making waves in the local community and the local press. The Brimbank Star Weekly of yesterday, in fact, carried a story scoring goals for half a century. And there it has club legend and our very own Miki Cholina posing with some old Guernseys, jerseys, strips, however you want to call it. And a great article there by Katja Ewing talking about the club's memorabilia appeal. Now, the Dinamo camp, yes, it has been made public. The numbers have been extraordinary. Up until now, we've had a huge number of Dinamo juniors answer the call and register for this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with Dinamo Zagreb's professional academy coaches coming to Melbourne in the July school holidays. So from the 7th to the 11th of July, it's a 5-day camp that is designed for children from 8 to 18, both boys and girls. Offers them a unique opportunity to develop their football skills, enhance their teamwork, and build confidence both on and off the field. Led by 5 elite Dinamo Academy coaches, including our guest a fortnight ago, Ivan Kelava, the former Melbourne Victory goalkeeper. The camp will provide insight into the Dinamo Zagreb methodology and it will ensure a high-quality training experience. Each day includes 1.5 hours training. There's going to be a 1-hour educational session and a nutritional lunch included in all of that. Participants will receive 2 official camp training kits, an official certificate of recognition from Dinamo Zagreb, and engaging interactive workshops, now this is the exciting bit, the potential invitation to Dinamo Zagreb's junior program in Zagreb. And the cost for the entire 5-day camp is $500. It's $100 a day. And registrations are now open. Places are limited, though. So to register, please complete the below job form. There we go. That's on your screen there now. It has been for the last 5 or so minutes. We will be speaking to STJEPAN GAL, member of the committee, a little bit later on about the show, and he'll give us even more details about this camp. We finished this with a little bit of sad news from our sister club, Melbourne Knights, Melbourne, Croatia. Duja Zemunik, rest in peace. A man who was... he arrived in Port Melbourne's Princess Pier way back in 1959 and eventually became what was known as the club's very first top-quality player. After just one training session, he played a game against Coburg on the 16th of May, way back in 59, and scored a hat-trick. A native of Jesenica in the Ormish region, just outside of Split. He played serious football back home for Orkan Dugi Rat before he became one of Melbourne, Croatia's greatest footballers. And then an injury cut his career short. He threw himself into junior coaching, set up the junior department there, coached and was a caretaker coach for many, many years. He was revered by the earliest generation of the club. He was a softly spoken, typical Dalmatinac. He was passionate about his soccer, passionate about the Hajduk Split. He's survived by his wife Frances, children Daniel, Rebecca and Madeline, and grandchildren Luca and Noah. May he rest in peace. And the funeral details for Pokojni Duje Zemunik next Tuesday, 25th of March, 11 a.m. at Sveti Nikola Tavelić Church in Clifton Hill. Okay, folks. Well, we're going to take and that's it pretty much for the news desk. We're going to take a very short break. When we return after this, it will be time for our very, very first guest of the evening, the man who scored Dinamo's opener against Oakleigh Cannons, EMMANUEL Peters. Manny will be joining us on the other side of the break. Well, welcome back to DinamoTV, and it's time for the first guest tonight. And man, he's the toast of the town after last week's extraordinary win over the Oakleigh Cannons. Gosh, I can't remember off the top of my head the statistic, but it's been years since we beat those Cannons. And well, this man was the one who scored the opening goal after just 5 or 6 minutes or whatever it was, and what a goal it certainly was. And it's a big welcome to DinamoTV, the man of the moment, EMMANUEL Peters. Manny, good evening and welcome to DinamoTV. How are you?
I'm good, and thank you for having me tonight.
Mate, it's always a pleasure, and thank you for coming on once again. Last week, let's talk about last week. What an effort that was, and we've actually got a little bit of footage as well. So we'll play that little bit of footage. There we go. Now, you started this little bit as the ball was knocked back all the way back, and then as it sort of happened, you finished the action. And geez, take us through this goal. Take us what happened and what was going through your mind.
Well, to be fair, me and Giddy, because obviously, I thought football is to keep the ball, but I told him if there is time, like if the defense is very high up, there's always that space in behind. And knowing me, I love making runs in behind, so I can the quicker I can get a goal, the quicker I can take off shots, and the less play beat. So, and it worked off because we always practice there in the training ground. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah, now it took a little bit of a deflection. Was the referee at any moment suggesting that it was going to be an own goal?
To be fair, I have been all the boys plus Cam. Everyone's been making jokes as going to the sideline, but I'll take what I can get. So I didn't know the goal was mine. So I was like, you know what, you have to shoot to score. So I did take the shot. So
yeah, no, we'll give it to you, and that means it was your second goal of the season, your first goal coming up against Heidelberg. But it's been sort of a great start to the season, considering where we were this time last year. That's for sure. But it has been a really, really good start to the season. How have you seen the first 6 rounds through your eyes?
Well, obviously the first game, second game was still gelling as a team. We did sign a lot of new players, so trying to know how each individual plays. So, but after that, after those first 2 games, we really started picking it up. And then, knowing Cam, he didn't really put pressure on us. He just told us we can't play football. It's just about when it sparks, we're just gonna be very, very good. So yeah.
Yeah. Now we haven't had the opportunity yet to play on our main pitch
Yeah.
there at Churchill Reserve, and as you know, towards the end of the year, we certainly made it our fortress,
Yeah.
and hopefully sooner rather than later, we're going to jump on. But this weekend coming, we've got a home game
Yeah.
against the Port Melbourne Sharks. Now, look, on paper, they're struggling. We should win. We will win. Let's keep a positive
No, we will.
mindset. Yeah, but obviously coming up against a team like Port Melbourne. How hard is it not to get carried away by looking at the ladder positions and saying, look, they're on the bottom of the ladder,
Yeah.
1 win, 5 losses. Yep, should be an easy game.
Yeah.
And how easy is it to get carried away by that, as opposed to really focusing on the task at hand?
Yeah. Well, it's like how we've been talking about it. Well, after the win on the weekend, if we don't go out and perform and keep that standard, because now we've pretty much hit a mark and want to stay there. So yes, respect the opponent, but we're going to go out there and literally get 3 points and then keep going, keep continuing. And yes, they're at the bottom of the ladder, but that does not mean anything because football, anyone can win on a day. So we just got to just perform every week, and keep getting 3 points. Especially our home, having our home fans there, amazing fans. They've been helping us on away games. So now at our home, we're going to get more people there, and I'm excited. The boys are excited. Now it's just do it on the weekend.
And Cam's obviously he runs a very tight ship, but how's the mood been in the dressing rooms? Over the last month, as things have slowly started to click together.
Oh, it's been good. It's been amazing. Obviously we have had some losses on some games.
Yeah.
But the team culture, the bonding, everyone is on the same page. We saw Cam's vision. He brought the players that he wanted, and everyone. What we're trying to get rid of is the old Dinamo and trying to build something new and better and keeping that going. So that's what he's been telling us since day one, and we trust in his vision, and everyone is on board with it.
Yeah. What has been the philosophy, without going too much tactically, but more philosophy wise, has been Cam's philosophy in the dressing room in creating that new Dinamo mentality, if you like?
Well, the first thing is respecting the club. So going in, like the biggest thing he's always said, to respect the club, not just play for ourselves or play for the fans that come home and away. So that's been our biggest thing, and pretty much working hard because the way we play, we want to press, we want to keep possession. So just knowing how hard we're going to work and him supporting us on the sideline, that's pretty much been our main focus.
Yeah. Now, Port Melbourne Sharks, the team that we're playing on Sunday, is one of your former teams. You had a stint there, and you also played at Green Gully last year before crossing over to Dinamo. What were your perceptions of Dinamo? What were your perceptions of St Albans coming up against Dinamo, in season by? And then part two of that question, how has your perceptions of the club changed? What do you perceive the club now? So,
First, when I first started playing NPL in Melbourne versus Dinamo, they've always been known as the hardest place to go because every time I play there on AC versus Dinamo, it's always a rough game. So it's not, and to this day, that's still our mentality. You don't come to our home and just get easy 3 points. If you're gonna get those 3 points, you're gonna get battered first. But now we're changing that. So if you're coming here, you're going to get battered, and we're going to steal the 3 points from you. So that's how I want to keep
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, love it. And your first impressions of the club and its members?
Oh, since I've been here, I've been welcome, especially when I first came. I met Jace, and he's been amazing off the pitch as well. And just having Cam and the board on board with him. So I feel good. Like pretty much the one thing I told Cam is like obviously the last season I had 2 clubs, and I told him like I don't want to move clubs. Obviously there's reasons why I left Port and then went to Gully and then didn't work out there. But when we had a conversation, it's pretty much I want to find a club where I can call home. And so far I can't complain. Yeah.
Oh, well, you've come to the right club, and you've come at the right time in the year that we'll be celebrating our 50th anniversary. It's going to be one big birthday celebration throughout the year. But, man, it's great to have you on board. Now, let's talk about your early days, because you actually weren't born in Australia. You were born in Guinea.
Yeah.
How old were you when you first came to Australia, and where did you first come?
Well, when I first came to Australia, I came here when I was 9 years old to Australia. I grew up in Fairfield in Sydney. So
Yep.
I'm originally a Sydney boy. I do miss home a lot of the time. I still have a lot of friends, family there. But since moving to Melbourne, it's been good. But with my football career, I started at Mount Druitt. From Mount Druitt, I went to Central Coast Mariners, and then that's where my development really started. Because I had a lot of improvement since coming from Africa and then moving here. So development was really good. And then from there, I moved around, went Marconi and then Sydney Olympic before I moved to Melbourne.
Yeah, excellent. And you've ended up at Dinamo. Well, we love having you at Dinamo, and especially when you're scoring those goals. And geez, what a crack it was against the Cannons. Mate, we wish you all the very, very best on Sunday against your old side. Let's come away with the 3 points. We're not going to show them any mercy, as you say. We're going to make sure that anyone that comes to Churchill Reserve will really, really earn their keep. And wishing you all the best for the rest of the season. And once again, thank you for joining us here on DinamoTV.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it being on here, and hopefully this weekend we will get our 3 points and then continue from there. Thank you.
Absolutely. Good on you, Manny. Thanks for that.
Over.
That was Emmanuel Peters. He likes to be called Manny, and he's certainly creating an impression here at Churchill Reserve. We're going to take a very short commercial break, and when we return, we will continue with tonight's episode of DinamoTV. Folks, don't go away. Welcome back to DinamoTV. It's now time for our next guest, and our next guest is a man who's a member of the committee, and he's got some very, very important portfolios that he looks after. He's responsible for government liaison, and he's also responsible for the stadium infrastructure, or the coordination of the stadium infrastructure. It's always a pleasure to chat to this man. He's got the biggest smile at Churchill Reserve. And welcome to DinamoTV, Ante Rozanic. Ante, how are you, mate?
Good, thanks, Tonch. How are you?
I'm well. Did you like that intro? Man with the biggest smile. How you been? It's been a pretty hectic start to the year, to the season, obviously. So much happening on the field, but also so much happening off the field as well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable at the moment. There's quite a few things that are happening off the field. With things, going through their processes, things getting done and things about to get done.
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. And let's talk about things that have been done behind the scenes. Look, this is an important year. Not only the fact is it obviously our 50th anniversary, but it's a federal election year. And when that usually means politicians are always coming out and trying to get as much votes. And I guess it's up to organisations like ours to try and get as much as we can in this window of opportunity. Having said that, last week, state member for the local state member for Parliament, Natalie Suleiman, invited Dinamo to a roundtable discussion, and you and Vice President John Bilosh went along to the meeting. And tell us, what was this roundtable discussion about?
It was, first of all, fantastic for Natalie to invite us to this meeting. I think it's the first time that something like this has happened since I've been around. It's probably over 10 years.
Yeah.
So there was 3 levels of government: council, state government, federal government, all involved in this meeting with various clubs and associations from Brimbank. So it was a good way to introduce most of the clubs and ourselves to all these 3 tiers of government. And we basically went through our grievances and the things that we need and, that we're fighting for.
Well, apart from Natalie Suleiman, we also had Federal MP Daniel Molina, who's very, very well known to the club and a great friend of the club. And also the newly appointed Brimbank Mayor. I'm going to pronounce this wrong. You're going to help me on this. How do you pronounce this, Thai Dang?
I think it's Andang.
Handang, of course it is. Yeah. As you said, 3 levels of government, and it's very rare to get that all at the one place. And what was kind of the general feel about the place? Look, we know there's not enough, particularly from our club's point of view, there's not enough pitches, never enough pitches. And a lot of the other football clubs around the region would probably say the same. And I'm sure the other sports have got their own grievances. But what was the general sort of, I don't know, the vibe that came out of this meeting?
Yeah, it's pretty hard because we're all fighting for more grounds. Every club, I think every football club in Brimbank needs additional grounds. And at the moment, I think on paper, Brimbank are roughly about almost 10 pitches short of where they should be to accommodate it. So it's a lot. But also in saying that, Brimbank has the most football clubs in all of Melbourne. I think there's a total of 15 soccer clubs that Brimbank have to accommodate. So it's not an easy thing for them to try to facilitate.
What are we up against, Auntie? Like some of the other sports, what were they saying? Did they also need pitches or courts or whatever, or is it just the more infrastructure?
But most clubs there were football clubs. There was the crochet club. They've got their own different issues, and it's all about funding, really, to keep on improving and upgrading facilities, which are starting to get old and. There's a lot of maintenance that is required. So a lot of the issues I think around the table have got to do with purely money, just funding to be able to facilitate upgrading.
Was there any talk of any major projects or anything like that, or was it just sort of really confined to the grassroots community clubs?
They're trying to work out a short-term fix of how we can fix the shortage in supply of grounds. This has been an ongoing topic about Energy Park. Energy Park is the old Sunshine Tip, which they've got massive plans to construct like a sporting hub for all of Brimbank clubs. So it will basically be soccer, footy, tennis, cricket, you name it. That will be the sporting precinct for Brimbank. But they've got a few issues there. One is finances. The other one, I think the actual facility is probably not ready for it at this stage, and we don't know when that will come about. Yeah.
And being an old tip, you'd expect there'd be all sorts of issues with the actual ground itself, and that has to be
and everything. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. No doubt, mate. That's excellent. Now, I guess this is an indication of a lot is happening behind the scenes, and as a football club, yes, we are a football club and a community club, and a lot of it is concerned with what is happening on the pitch, whether it's the seniors, whether it's the juniors, the women's, the men's, etc., etc. But there's so much that goes on behind the scenes in running the club, and you've got one of those. Probably, you could almost say sometimes a thankless portfolio of looking with all the government departments and all of that, but also it's things that don't happen overnight. It's not something that's going to happen immediately. Sometimes there's a lot of work that has to go on behind the scenes. Sort of give us a bit of an indication of some of the things that you're involved in and how long these things take.
No, it's most of the times it's really, really frustrating because things just happen really slow, and you've just got to be patient. A good example is when we got our lighting as well for pitch 1 and pitch 3. from the get-go until we got the go-ahead, until it got installed and got commissioned, I think that was something like a 5-6 year turnaround.
Wow.
So that's how, things go, with council.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because sometimes club members, players, etc., sometimes are a bit impatient and they don't see what goes on behind the scenes, and they want something now. And parents, and maybe rightly so, are sometimes asking, well, where does our money go? What do we do? And it's sometimes not a quick fix, and sometimes there's a lot of work, negotiations, preparing reports, and what you're not behind the scenes just to be able to make something happen, isn't it?
Yeah, it takes a lot of time. By the time you organise meetings with council to get the ball rolling, you've got to get designs, you've got to get their go-ahead. Their support is the most important, because they're the driving force behind any major project at your facility. So council is key to everything. And then once we get that support, then it's the argument and stuff like that to state and federal governments.
Yeah. Now, speaking about ground improvements, another thing that has been absolutely fantastic and groundbreaking, we must add, is the new turf on pitch 1. So that's come in. It has to now settle. New fencing as well. This is something that hasn't happened in a long time, probably ever, that the council has actually re-turfed the whole surface. And, it was much maligned in many ways, and lots of opposing teams used to go on about the state of the pitch. But, well, certainly now they won't be able to say anything bad, because that looks absolutely incredible.
That's the first time ever that pitch 1 has been redone that I can remember. So it's 40, 50 years in the making. It took a lot of effort, and it took a lot of time. It was a few years in the making.
Yep.
And we've so grateful that we've got it eventually over the line. And as you can see, it just looks fantastic.
And not just the pitch itself. I mean, it looks so lush and so green and so full, but it's the fencing as well behind the goals, around the pitch perimeter fencing, coupled with the electronic scoreboard, coupled with the brand new lighting as well. It really is a first class facility as far as the pitch is concerned, isn't it?
It is. It's getting there. It's gone are the days where people are going to complain about coming to Churchill Reserve to play Dinamo. It's going to be fantastic and a different outlook. There's still a lot more work to be done behind the scenes, but we'll do that in the next 12 to 24 months. We'll slowly start fixing the facilities around pitch 1. But as far as the playing surface and the immediate surrounds, it looks fantastic.
Well, coupled with a great club room, and also a nice little boutique grandstand as well. I guess the next step after that is the change rooms, and that's on the horizon, isn't it?
The change rooms, yes, is the next big major project that we're looking at. I've already spent probably 3 to 4 years working on that. So probably still got that much more ahead of me, but that will, we just want to make sure we get that one right. And we've been speaking to both council and governments in regards to financial support and how do we get the ball rolling to get that happening.
As you said, you got to speak to the council, you got to speak to the various levels of parliament, because unfortunately in this day and age, there's only so many chavape and beers you can sell that will finance things, but they certainly won't finance capital improvements. And the big ticket items certainly need the big end of town for their support. Ante, thank you so much for everything that you do for the club, and thank you for coming on DinamoTV. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me.
Good.
Thanks.
Good on you. Ante Rozanic has a very important role in the committee at St Albans Dinamo, and we appreciate him coming on the show to tell us a little bit about what is happening behind the scenes. Folks, don't go away. After this short break, we will continue with tonight's episode of DinamoTV. Welcome back to DinamoTV, folks. That was a very, very short break indeed. And now it's time for our very last guest for the evening. And it's an absolute pleasure to welcome back for the second time this year a man who's really, really got his hands full at the moment. He's so involved with the women's side of things, also all the juniors, but he's heavily involved organising or putting together the last pieces of the inaugural Dinamo Zagreb Juniors Camp to be held in July. Of course, the school holidays, and that's going to be held at Churchill Reserve. To find out all the latest information with regards to that, it's a pleasure to welcome STJEPAN GAL for the second time this year. STJEPAN, how are you?
Yeah, good, Tonch. Good for a Wednesday. So yeah.
But you've got the beard happening. You've got the glassy eye. That can only mean one thing, mate. Things are pretty full on at the moment, and you're jumping from one thing to another. But let's talk about the camp, the Dinamo camp. It's getting closer and closer, isn't it? Really looking forward to this. What's the latest news with regards to this?
Yeah, look, so we've launched it. We launched it on Monday, to the wider public. So we've got already close to 100 participants sort of signed up, ready to go. Numbers are limited, so I mean, hopefully people jump on, see it, and get in and don't miss out. I think it's it's Dinamo Zagreb coming. It's not one of the top 10, if not top 5 youth academy systems in the world. So they're not. One of the things I just want to make sure that people understand, they're not coming here for a holiday. They're coming here to really run a program and run a camp. So we've got 5 really, really good coaches coming out. Ivan Keleva, who coaches the under-19s at Dinamo Zagreb. He's going to be running a goalkeeper sort of training over those 5 days as well. So that in itself is going to be a very, very good experience for the young goalkeepers out there, and be able to get little tips and pointers from him in relation to goalkeeping that can help them on their journey to get to where they want to get to one day, hopefully.
Yeah, and for those who've probably just come down in the last shower and don't know much about Ivan Keleva's contribution to Australian football, he was indeed Melbourne Victory's goalkeeper, first-string goalkeeper for quite a few seasons. Very, very popular with the Victory crowd. And, of course, he's going to be very, very popular with the wider community. And speaking of which, STJEPAN, I know it's only been out in the public domain in the last few days, but has there been much interest, particularly from the other Croatian community-backed clubs, the Knights, North Geelong, Strathmore, for example?
Yeah, there's been a bit of interest. It's interesting. A lot of people. I actually saw someone put one in from WA today. So. Wow. Yeah, we've got, it's going national. So it's, people are seeing this as a great opportunity to come out, down to Melbourne and see, and to Dinamo and St Albans, and really experience first-class coaching. So I was pleasantly surprised to see that one come through from Western Australia today. So,
mate, I reckon we should be getting some sort of funding.
That in itself speaks volumes.
I was saying we should get some funding.
Probably could. So.
Yeah.
Look, I don't see why we shouldn't.
Yeah. Let's bring that graphic up there. So each day will include a minimum of a 1.5-hour training session, a 1-hour educational session, plus a nutritional lunch. And that's what every day of the 5-day camp will include. And participants will receive 2 official camp training kits, official certificate of recognition, an engaging interactive workshop. And here's the big one, the potential to get invited to Dinamo Zagreb's junior program in Zagreb. That surely must be a big draw card, hey?
Yeah, I think that's amazing. So, I remember a long time ago when Dinamo Zagreb came out, I reckon I was probably living overseas at that time. They came out early 2000s and ended up picking up, I think Ivan Mioch ended up getting a call up to come out and have a trial out there with Dinamo Zagreb back then. So, things can happen, and things do happen, and they are out and about looking for talent around the world. So I mean, nothing stops any young boy or girl within our soccer landscape to get a great opportunity potentially to be called over and experience what Dinamo Zagreb is about potentially, if they like what they see.
Yeah. Now the interesting development with regards to Dinamo Zagreb is talk that next year they will have a second team, a B team, if you like, which will be competing in the fourth tier. Several years ago, they did have a B team, as did Hajduk and as did, I think, Osijek as well. So that opens up the possibility for talented young footballers, here in Australia to possibly get a foot in the doorway via Dinamo in years to come. We're not saying next year or the year after, but in years to come. And, little, I guess, camps and projects like this are going to go a long way to connecting the diaspora and the domovina, as they say, the homeland and the diaspora. And it's quite exciting times here at St Albans Dinamo.
Yeah, look, I think this is a one small step, a big step in relation to sort of connecting ourselves with a giant such as Dinamo Zagreb and being able to sort of start engaging with them, whether it be at this level at the moment, from a camp perspective, and being able to get them out and run a camp out of our club is one thing, and that's really, really good. I think future state, who knows what it might look like and what opportunities might develop out of this relationship. I had I was overseas earlier this year, and I had the privilege to catch up with Ivan Novosel, who was one of the instigators and one of the people that sort of helped put this together with Johnny Bilosh and put the idea forward. So, and the way he was talking and speaking about it, they really want this to be a really big success, and they're really coming out here to find talent. They're not, like I said, this isn't for them. This isn't a holiday. And I just want people to sort of understand that it's they're really coming out. Yeah, correct.
Yeah,
this isn't. Yeah,
mate. Thank you so much.
We're looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, thank you so much for joining us here on Dinamo TV. Really, really appreciate it. It is going to be absolutely fantastic, and it's just going to be part of a wonderful celebration, 50 years of Dinamo. So it's going to be a huge week, huge month, in fact, July. And Stjepan, and we thank you sincerely for coming on the show.
No, appreciate the time, and looking forward to it. And like you said, it's going to be a really big week for the club that week, and celebrating 50 years, and also being able to get Dinamo Zagreb out for that week. Yeah, really looking forward to it. And again, thanks for the time, and see you around the club.
Good on you. STJEPAN GAL, member of the committee who's responsible for the women's and juniors operations as well. He's heavily involved with that Dinamo Zagreb camp. Now, if you didn't catch our last show 2 weeks ago, we had an exclusive interview with Ivan Novosel from the Zaprešić boys, and he's also the liaison officer for Dinamo members and supporters outside of Croatia. And also Ivan Kelava, former Melbourne Victory goalkeeper, and the coach of the Dinamo Zagreb under-19 youth team, and one of 5 academy coaches who will be coming out here. That interview, the full interview, can be seen on both our YouTube channel and our Facebook page in the video section, the video category. Folks, that brings us to the end of yet another episode of Dinamo TV. Before we go, just a reminder about Sunday's massive, massive game. The seniors kick off at 4 p.m. That's going to be a huge game, that one. Dinamo versus Port Melbourne. It's a must-win game. We should win it. We need to win it. But even though they are on the bottom, they will no doubt be a very, very tough opponent, the Sharks. And as part of the day, there's a big memorabilia appeal. So we're appealing to all members of Dinamo, all members of the Croatian community, the wider football community, whoever may have any old photos, jerseys, any nostalgic items whatsoever connected with St Albans Dinamo, St Albans Hash Građanski, St Albans Saints, any of the formats or forms that the club found itself over the last 50 years, please come to the club on Sunday. And the hard-working volunteers will scan and photograph all that what you've got. Okay, that is the end of the show, and thank you for joining us on Dinamo TV. We look forward to having you on for episode 148 next Wednesday night at 8 p.m. Until then, good night and mismo Dinamo. Good night.